Ethereum's new roadmap has just been published. We're talking about post-quantum cryptography, more capacity, higher speed. And that's not all. The dispute between Aave Labs and the DAO is still ongoing. New reports have just come out. I also talk about the possibility of Stripe acquiring PayPal and other news. Hi everyone and welcome to CryptoRed, the crypto news channel. The market is up today. Ethereum is above $2,000. Almost the whole market is up. So yeah, there's been some solid action, but let's not focus on that. Focus on the news. Let's talk about Stripe, the payment giant valued at $159 billion and still not public, is reportedly in discussion to acquire PayPal. PayPal, I think everyone knows PayPal. PayPal is valued around $50 billion, so roughly 3 times less than Stripe. So we could be looking at an acquisition, a merger, or maybe a deal involving part of PayPal's asset. PayPal is also active in crypto with the PYUSD, their stablecoin. It's available on decentralized exchanges and in various DeFi environments. For example, there are PYUSD pools on Curve, Finance, and elsewhere. Stripe on its side has already made moves in the stablecoin space. They own Bridge, a company heavily involved in stablecoin infrastructure, especially with large US corporations. And right now, Bridge is reportedly in discussion with Meta, Facebook parent company, about integrating stablecoins. Meta, which tried back in 2019 with Libra to integrate stablecoin, to create a stablecoin, is now coming back to the stablecoin narrative. They're reportedly developing some kind of wallet or payment solution to accept stablecoins. So clearly a lot is happening. If Stripe were to acquire PayPal, that would be huge. In my opinion, that would be good news for crypto. We'd have an even bigger player that has clearly expressed its intention to move deeper into the crypto space. That said, Stripe also has its own blockchain, Tempo. It has not launched yet, but they're developing it. And I've already told you I'm not a big fan of it. It's quite centralized, heavily influenced by Stripe, if not controlled by Stripe. I don't think a blockchain like that can realistically attract independent payment players. Why would competitors build on infrastructure so closely tied to Stripe? That's the real question. However, if Stripe buys PayPal, we can be almost certain that PayPal would start developing a lot more on the Tempo blockchain. So that could accelerate its adoption internally, at least. In any case, stablecoins are clearly becoming the dominant serious narrative in crypto. Institutional players are embracing them. Everyone seems to agree that stablecoins are a major part of the future. And let's move on. Let's move on to Ethereum. Just before I talk about Aave, there's been some news about Ethereum. Justin Drake from the Ethereum Foundation published a very long post outlining the new Ethereum's roadmap. I already made a video about the future of Ethereum, what it could look like with insane transaction throughput. We talk about 10,000 transactions per second on the mainnet and up to 10 million transactions per second on layer 2s. This new roadmap actually lays out step by step how we get there in a concrete way. Ethereum currently does about 2 forks per day, Ethereum currently does 2 forks per year. You can see the timeline here: 2026 Amsterdam, 27 additional forks. This new roadmap named STRAWMAP details what needs to be implemented to reach those performance targets. What I personally found extremely interesting is that post-quantum cryptography is now clearly established as a priority. It's no longer theoretical. There's a lot of phase to this, but in 2027 there's the first steps toward post-quantum cryptography. In 2028 further implementation. In 2029 we have the final part, the post-quantum attestations. And by 2029, on layer 1, transaction would have full protection against quantum attacks. That's very important. It showed they're taking the quantum threat seriously and moving from discussion to actual execution. The plan is defined, structured, and time-bound. Vitalik also tweeted about the performance aspects of this roadmap. He mentioned that block times could be reduced from 12 seconds to 8 seconds, then 6, then 4, then 3, and potentially even 2 seconds. And what's interesting is that this could be achieved mainly through parameter changes, not necessarily through heavy hard forks every single time like we had in the past. So overall, this roadmap is not just about scaling, it's about performance, quantum resistance, and a very clear execution plan over the next few years. And that's pretty significant. He also clearly emphasized the whole, like I said, the post-quantum angle. Vitalik also emphasized this. So yeah, it's a core element of this. And there's also discussion about other things that could happen after 2029. Like I said, by 2029, most of the major milestones should be completed. Not everything, but the majority. For example, one of the priorities they highlighted is confidential transaction directly on the Ethereum mainnet that won't be ready by 2029. That's a longer term objective. They name it private L1 shielded transfers, similar to what you see with Zcash. You could imagine something like Tornado Cash or Railgun being integrated natively at the protocol level. Or in another scenario, it might not be fully native and instead implemented more at the wallet layer. What's being built is genuinely very interesting, and the horizon for most of these upgrades is late 2029. Some things will come later, but the bulk will come before. The foundation will have been laid properly, and there won't be a need to keep pushing major hard forks every 6 months after 2029. That's the long-term vision. Ethereum will slow down on the hard forks and on the changes. Personally, I'm very, very bullish about this roadmap. I'm really happy to see concrete things actually being implemented. The roadmap will evolve. We all know how that goes. There will probably be delays. The vision might shift along the way, but the big lines are there. The direction is clear. Now, let's talk about Aave. Aave, the lending protocol, what's happening there? The fight between the DAO, the decentralized autonomous organization, and Aave Labs, the company developing Aave, is still ongoing. Aave Labs published a report outlining everything they've built so far, basically presenting themselves as the best stewards of Aave. They highlighted V1, V2, V3, and so on. And this is clearly tied to the request for more than $50 million in additional budget. On the other side, you have the Aave initiative, which could say represent the DAO. They responded very aggressively. They basically argued that Aave Labs have been burning money. According to them, Aave Labs has already received $86 million in total, $60 million from the DAO, from the ICO, excuse me, $32 million from VCs and $32 million from the DAO, plus more than $5 million from swap fees. And remember the swap fees controversy, that's where everything started, the controversy started. The swap fees that used to go to the DAO were redirected to Aave Labs. The Aave initiative criticized Aave Labs heavily, saying that almost everything they've shipped so far has been a failure. Lens Protocol, the social network they launched, they called it a failure. Also Family Wallet, they shut down this wallet. Sonar, I didn't even know about that project, labeled a failure also. The Aptos deployment of Aave, yes, they deployed Aave on Aptos. Aave Labs did this, but the TVL is only around $40 million. So according to them, that's not meaningful revenue for the DAO. Then there's Horizon. Personally, I saw Horizon as a success. It has around $500 million in TVL, but the DAO said, Aave initiative said that Horizon is actually down 96% in terms of return on capital. They claim that for every $24 spent in incentives by the DAO only earned $1 back. Because there were heavy incentives to bootstrap TVL, they argue that it's not profitable right now. It's not profitable right now at all. Now, obviously, this is a one-sided report. It's written from the DAO's perspective, and the goal is clearly to show that Aave Labs doesn't have a great track record, that they haven't delivered exceptional results, and therefore shouldn't be given full control moving forward, especially with the Aave V4 gradually replacing V3. They also try to minimize Aave Labs' past achievement. Yes, they built V1, V2, but they argue that the original developers are no longer there. The CTO left. He went out to build BGD Labs, and BGD Labs has now fully exited Aave as well. So this is essentially a critical expose against Aave Labs. The vote on the Aave proposal is currently happening. There's a high probability it passes. I'd say 90% chance. A number of wallets have been identified as affiliated with the foundation, with Aave, in fact. So with Aave Labs. So realistically, I think it goes through. We'll see how long the voting period lasts, but it should be relatively quick. If that happens, if Aave Labs wins, the Aave initiative likely will exit, and Aave Labs effectively takes full control of Aave. From an agility and development standpoint, that could actually be a good thing. I don't doubt that Aave will continue to grow as a protocol. The real question is whether Aave token holders will benefit from that growth. Will the value accrue to the token? That's much harder to answer. My concern is that over time, a significant portion of the protocol's economic value could be captured by Aave Labs rather than flowing back to the DAO, which would mean fewer buybacks, fewer redistributions, and less direct benefit to token holders. Anyway, yeah, that's my opinion on the Aave situation. So what I wanted to share, just to go back on the Aave situation, I'm not saying Aave token will crash. Maybe not in 6 months, maybe not in a year, but maybe it'll take longer. But over the long term, I'm personally less comfortable holding Aave tokens. I'd rather be exposed to protocols that are less dependent on a single entity, with less control concentrated in one place. Whether that control is direct or indirect, it still matters, and that's something that makes me less at ease today with Aave. Now let's talk about the Safe integration that just been announced. You know Safe, the multi-sig wallet. Well, they just announced they're working with Morpho to integrate a solution around Société Générale stablecoin, the EURCV. So now in a very simple way, people will be able to use a Safe multi-sig wallet and invest in a Morpho vault with this stablecoin, which is euro-based stablecoin, fully compliant with the European regulation. So good news for euro stablecoins. There is more and more euro yields on decentralized finance. A few months ago, even, I don't know, less than 6 months ago, there weren't that many opportunities around the euro. It was mostly dollar-based. But now we're starting to see more and more euro-denominated yield strategies. With Morpho in particular, there are quite a few vaults that allow that. So yeah. Now let's talk about LEO. Do you know LEO? LEO is the token associated with Bitfinex. It's an exchange. It's been around for a long time. The LEO token was created after Bitfinex was hacked in 2016 or 17, when they lost tens of millions of dollars. The token was issued as a way to compensate for the losses. What was agreed is that every month, actually every day, there would be buybacks funded by Bitfinex profits. Specifically, 27% of Bitfinex profit are used to buy back LEO tokens. And right now, the token is sitting at around $8 billion market cap. One very interesting point about LEO is that it's also entitled to capture 80% of the value of the BTC that were stolen from Bitfinex if they were later recovered by Bitfinex. And we're talking about serious amount here, around 94,000 Bitcoins linked to that hack that are currently held by the US government. That's several billions of dollars, over $6 billion at current prices, and potentially even more if BTC goes up. Bitfinex has committed to redistribute or using at least 80% of the recovered BTC for buybacks of the LEO token. So if those Bitcoins are eventually returned to Bitfinex in the coming months or years, we don't know when, if it happens, that would create massive buying pressure for LEO. Now, there's also the possibility that those BTC are not returned and instead remain in the hand of the US government as part of the strategic Bitcoin reserves. We'll see. But the market clearly believes there is a decent probability they will be returned. According to some analysts, LEO is currently trading at more than 60% premium compared to what they consider is fair value. Of course, that's an estimate, but it suggests that investors are already pricing the expectation that this recovery will positively impact LEO's price. For example, if there were an official decision that the BTC would not be returned, say through some agreement between the US government and Bitfinex, that could significantly impact LEO's price. It could drop sharply. Also, an important clarification, LEO captures Bitfinex profits, not Tether's profits, the company that's issuing the USDT. Yes, Bitfinex and Tether share the same parent company, but they are not the same entity. Tether's USDT profit do not go toward buying back LEO, despite what some people sometimes claim. So that's what I wanted to share with you today regarding the latest crypto update. I hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow for the next one. All right, bye-bye.